a lot of people have been saying, cover the Andrew Callaghan allegations, I found out about them, like briefly yesterday, but I didn't look that deeply into it because for me specifically, it was my day off. So I have no idea what was going on. I have looked into it since then a little bit and gotten additional details from Ethan as well. And from what I understand, there was one person who came out and originally said, and I don't know where to go for this right now. Andrew Callaghan of Channel 5 is who I'm talking about. There was H Production subreddit. Okay, there was one person who came out and originally made statements about Andrew, stating that I think he like pressured her to he pressured her to have sex with him. The first ever allegation was, I never actually saw the first accusation. Like I don't know what the first one was, but I only saw that I saw a compilation of like people saying, "Oh, he's a bad guy and here's why." And it was like this compilation that I saw that I thought was a little ridiculous because there were parts of it where it was literally like Andrew Callaghan, I heard from a friend of a friend, was like hooking up with young women with family members. 99% are underage. However, there was some serious ones in between. At first, I thought maybe it's like a Aziz Ansari style situation. But one of the people that actually came out, I believe it was Moldy Freckle, who said Andrew assaulted me as well. I'd previously been involved with him, but only when I was extremely drunk. This one was the only one out of like all of the random things that were compiled that made it that seemed very severe. Okay. I'm from Seattle. Know many people common with him. You are not the first person. I've heard about the story happening too. Went to a neighboring high school as him. Same thing. He was in high school. Not the first time I'm hearing something about like this. Okay. So some of this stuff is just like, it's a complete hearsay. But this one was the solid one. This one was previously dating, I believe, Andrew. And this video in and of itself is like a very serious one. There were two videos from her. The first was allegations. The second contained text messages and other anonymous allegations that responded to her post with. Yeah. Obviously, don't dismiss any victims. Don't dismiss anyone coming out with their stories. Unless, of course, their stories are literally like, I have a friend who is like a friend with Andrew's cameraman, and he told me Andrew's a bad guy. Like that stuff is ridiculous, obviously. Even if it corresponds to like the real evidence that you have in front of you, that's something that you always have to, pay special consideration to. Okay. I always say false allegations are rare, super rare, and it is infinitely more likely that someone that comes out with allegations, it is infinitely more likely that someone comes out with allegations that is unnoticed, that goes unnoticed or vilified than not. So this is the person that first came out. This video came out, from what I understand, she was upset. Here, I'll watch this.
Never in a million years thought that I would be making this video, and I'm shaking because I've tried a couple different times and haven't been able to get my point across, but I don't like seeing abusers get platforms. And my abuser, Andrew Callaghan, also known as All Gas No Breaks, Channel 5, and whatever his new HBO show's called, I forget, has been plastered all over my news feed, and I've tried to come to him person to person and try to get him to take accountability for what he did, but his version of what happened the night that he assaulted me is so skewed. So I will tell you that he did eventually get consent. And that's the main point, is that he eventually got consent because he wore me down. He told me he needed a place to stay for the night. He had some sort of falling out with one of his crew members or whatever, and I was very clear about the fact that we are not hooking up. He gets in my bed and wears me down to the point where I eventually do agree to do things that I wasn't proud of. And I wasn't proud of them and thought it was my fault for so long that I continued to be nice to him after the situation. He wouldn't leave my house the next morning. And then as time went on and I processed things, I thought, you know what, just because eventually I said, okay, whatever, because I was trying to just get the whole night over with so that it could be morning so that he could leave. It doesn't discount the fact that I told him no. So I told him no so many times prior to this. I said, I'm tired. I'm not really feeling it. I came up with any excuse that I possibly could to just get him off of me.
So both Andrew and her, from what I understand, were extremely drunk when this happened. And that's why it's like this one originally, I don't know any of the, I don't know the exact details of what happened here.
And
this is like one of the first times that I'm hearing about it, other than the fact that I only looked at Reddit pretty much. Like I didn't even see this video itself. And that's still not consent ultimately. Not, you know, it's still coercive in nature if there's like pressure involved. This is a consistent thing that I mention all the time. This happens as a consequence of, one, the ways that everyone is taught on how gender dynamics are supposed to work, even though it is literally wrong. Okay, it's a product of the patriarchy. It is social conditioning. And then also on top of that, you pile on the gray nature of interpersonal communication and dynamics, especially in a situation like in a non-platonic romantic situation. All of a sudden, it's basically powder keg. So whenever I see stuff like this, like I try to be as understanding as possible. You know, this is not uncommon. I think that what Andrew was doing, I didn't see this one, but I did see the other one, was pestering. Like it seems like in this circumstance is a person that he was involved with originally. Like they dated, I believe. And the long and short of it basically is that she was offering him a ride, and he was like trying to hook up with her, trying to kiss her in the neck, trying to hook up with her, and even like went so far as to like pull her hand down his pants. And you know, I mean, here I'll let her explain it.
I told him I would take him home because he lived close by, but that I did not want to have sex in my car at all. I did not want to have sex with him again, ever. And after we got to my car, he started advancing towards me, started touching my inner thigh. And pulled me forward and started kissing my neck. So I really couldn't move out of the position. He was holding me like tightly. And he proceeded to put his hand down my pants. I told him to stop. I told him to get off of me multiple times. He tried to put my hand down his pants, and I was, you know, fighting against him during this, told him to please stop. And he said, you could.
There's no gray area here, man. No, I know. There isn't. There is not. I'm saying that in normal circumstances, something that otherwise, depending on who the two individuals are, would be a consensual touch can immediately be unconsensual. This is one of those circumstances where it clearly is not. It is clear cut. The point is across the board, and this is something, like I said, time and time again, something that I've talked about when describing the nature of consent. When describing the nature of consent and you know, these sorts of dynamics a million times over, I have mentioned this. A lot of chatters are trying to get a clip out of you, weirdos. Yeah, I assume that the goal here for many people is to try to get me to say something that you can clip and then ship, and you know, say that I am, you know, I'm just say that I'm a hypocrite or something. But like you're betraying the conversation that we're trying to have here. Andrew, as far as I understand, has not said anything about this, and I await for any kind of statement that comes from him. But ultimately, I mean, this seems pretty bad. It's like, it looks like an obvious instance.
And I said, no, I don't want to do that. Get out of my car. At that point, it was, I'm not taking you home anymore. Get the out of my car. And he just got mad, really. He was mad that I would even say that, but at the same time,
No, I think that there is a case to be made for this being like, this one especially being assault, and at the very least harassment for sure. The biggest bummer here is not that like I'm friends with Andrew or I know Andrew, you know, this that like someone that you like has done things. No, the biggest bummer here is the fact that like these people have been traumatized by these actions. Like that is the, keep your eyes on the prize, I guess, and be a little bit more understanding.
Was laughing at me and continued to try to kiss me and was like, are you serious? Come on. Yeah, it was not fun. So I told him to get out of my car again. He wouldn't get out. And he said, you could at least take me home. So I realized at this point, I would not.
I think a lot of people like this usually speak up because they fear that when someone comes out, they usually fear that like this is repeat behavior. And that's the reason why they come out and speak out on things like this. Okay, so they want to prevent this from happening again. It's not like, I know that the immediate alternative is like, oh, this is a person who was scorned and that's why they're coming out. And even if like one person, even if the original accusation is like that, the other people that are coming out in that situation are offering offering repetitive patterns, like pestering, legitimately, like regularly pestering. In some instances that could lead to a coerced instance of consent. Even if I were to put myself, I mean, this is a weird thing to say, but even if you were to put yourself in the shoes of the perpetrator, okay? And a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, don't do that. After a sequence of repetitive actions, and this goes for a lot of people, okay? This goes for a lot of dudes. When you engage in this action, and it is otherwise rewarded or there's no sort of pushback, you assume that this is the norm, okay? This isn't to take away the responsibility from Andrew in this circumstance. It's not. It certainly isn't. But it is for a lot of people to hopefully understand why these things keep happening all the time, especially because I think that like the systemic aspect of this conversation always gets lost in the sauce in the way that we look at everything. That's why people say like men are trash. Okay, that's where this comes from, because a lot of guys oftentimes in this circumstance don't understand what they're doing is like completely inappropriate, or there might be a point where they understood that what they were doing was completely inappropriate and have lost touch with that side because this is so heavily normalized and reinforced in society. That is also part of the reason why I always talk about, whenever I cover these sorts of things, whether it be someone I know or someone I don't know, when people go, oh, it seems like there's a lot of people who are doing this sort of thing in this avenue, in Twitch or whatever, right? What you also always need to take into consideration is that this is not just happening on Twitch, or this is not just happening in this circle. It's happening in every circle, in every facet of existence. And I think that the way to solve it is by, again, having empathy across the board, and of course having an honest conversation about these sorts of things, which unfortunately rarely ever happens, because ultimately the people that speak out against these sorts of instances are traumatized individuals who, of course, are going to be on the edge, be defensive. It's understandable. It's a survival mechanism. It's the same as like when I talk about transphobia. Yes, I completely understand why trans people would be more defensive when having a conversation like this, that would otherwise even come across as like to the untrained person who's just like hearing from the outside, like, oh, why are you being so hysterical? Well, yeah, it's because they feel as though their lives are on the line, and in many instances, that's a legitimate reason. Same with this as well. Okay, same with this circumstance as well. I'll wait for what Andrew's side of it is, but it does seem like this is pretty commonplace behavior. As far as like the things I saw, it's usually like known people. These are people that he knew, people that he might have even had a consensual relationship with at some point. And yeah, that's it. I don't know what else to say other than that.